Politics is an interesting game. I'm going to do this podcast no matter how I feel about the person that's heading the Republican Party right now towards the election. I want to give you a little bit of history. Okay? Richard Hatfield had New Brunswick sewn up as a politician up until the 1987 election. He basically did not resign as conservative leader. He eventually destroyed his party. The Progressive Conservatives were completely wiped out, 58-0 in the 87 vote by Frank McKenna. John Turner couldn't take the baton from Pierre Trudeau, lost the election in 84. Brian Mulroney had all the momentum in the world, but he was too entangled in the Quebec question and all different activities. By 1993, he destroyed the party. There was only 2 members left. So this is not what's going to happen with Donald Trump in the States. But as we say in Canada, I'm covering this as a Canadian political expert, momentum is everything. A very interesting article came out on Politico.com in recent hours. Now, and I think it's good to read from them because I think they're pretty objective. Trump tries to reset his campaign after a brutal month. Trump's prospects of winning in November are nowhere near as bright as they once were. Now, according to the article by Natalie Allison and Meredith McGraw, Donald Trump is finally recognizing he's at risk of losing the election unless he makes some changes. As Democrats convene this week in Chicago, the former president's campaign advisors reach out to people who are allies of both Trump and Brian Kemp, the popular governor of Georgia who was publicly attacking just 2 weeks ago, to smooth all things over between the 2 Republicans. Now, Trump's advisors, meanwhile, have been privately strategizing on how to broaden his appeal with voters and shore up support among top allies. Well, he's going to get 42% of the vote. That's pretty solid. But he's losing momentum because what he wanted occurred. He wanted Biden to quit. He thinks he can beat Kamala Harris, but unfortunately, the new dog in the shelter gets the adoption. They convened a stakeholders call last week with a small group of influential Trump supporters and unofficial advisors to provide an update on the election. Privately, Trump has suggested he understands he could lose in November if he does not dramatically change his approach to the race, according to a person with knowledge of his thinking who was granted anonymity to discuss the situation. Now, his prospects of reclaiming the White House are nowhere near as bright as they were over a month ago, when he and Republicans were celebrating at their convention in Milwaukee. After surviving an assassination attempt days earlier, and as an unpopular Biden said he's remaining in the race, many in the GOP believed a Trump win was inevitable. But weeks later, after a month of Harris' glistening poll numbers and positive news coverage of her candidacy, Trump and his team are fretting heavily. His allies have been blanking the airways, calling for him to stop his obsession over crowd sizes and personal attacks on Harris and focus instead on policy and the vice president's record. And Obama brought him into Ford this week, basically saying, he has an obsession with crowd sizes. Crowd sizes don't win you election. Crowd sizes are just basically interpretation. Now, as Harris prepared to take the stage in Chicago on Thursday, Trump was praising Kemp on social media, the latest in a series of steps the former president has taken in recent days to try to course correct as Harris has started to pull ahead in the polls. Now, this week, Trump announced he would not enforce the Comstock Act to ban mail delivery of abortion pills, something he had previously declined to specify. And he also said this week that Democrats wanted to get rid of Roe versus Wade. Where that came from, I don't know. Now, on Friday, he wrote on his Truth Social website that his administration will be great for women and reproductive rights, using a term that's popular to abortion rights activists in an apparent effort to appeal to moderate voters, even though it was immediately panned by anti-abortion leaders. After being implored by advisors and allies alike to focus more on policy, he embarked on a week-long tour of battleground states with events focused on different issues each day. Behind the scenes, he worked to earn the endorsement of independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy, who is now ostracized by the majority of his family, who announced Friday suspending his campaign for president. Now, Kennedy's Jr.'s endorsement in particular appeared to give Trump's campaign a new jolt of energy, and he welcomed on stage at a rally in Arizona with pyrotechnics and My Hero by the Foo Fighters. That's not going over good as well. Now, while the ultimate unpack is unclear, and Kennedy made a comment that said Biden's name was only mentioned twice at the Republican convention. It was mentioned 500 times, and he's fumbling already. Now, Trump's pollster, Tony Fabrizio, claimed in a memo that Kennedy Jr.'s votes broke for Trump in every state. This is good news for the president's campaign, plain and simple. Despite the endorsement and moments of discipline, the past week showed how Trump is most often guided by his own political instincts that are beyond the scope of what his advisors or allies can influence. Now, the Trump campaign did not respond to requests for comment for this article. While he read closely from teleprompters on some of his policy speeches this week, which saved him for that assassination attempt because he always turns his head, he veered off at times, particularly during a rally in North Carolina on Wednesday when he joked he was going to fire his advisors for telling him to stay away from personal attacks on Harris. He's made fun of the fact he doesn't think she's black, makes fun of her looks, her speech, whatever. In addition to a team of advisors who just joined the campaign from his affiliated super PAC MAGA Incorporated, Trump, who was often nostalgic for 2016, brought out a controversial advisor, his former 2016 campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski. His public burying of the hatchet with Kemp, however, is the most notable of steps Trump has taken in recent days to try to right the ship. Trump's post late on Thursday night praising Kemp brought a sigh of relief in Republican circles there, said Stephen Lawson, a veteran Republican operative based in Georgia. Is the best message to come out of Donald Trump's campaign the last month? It's that plain and simple. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that Brian Kemp is critical to Trump winning the White House again. Now, Republican strategist Josh Holmes wrote on X, formerly Twitter, that Trump extending an olive branch to Kemp was far more significant than anything in Chicago tonight. Now, Trump's public bashing of Kemp sparked serious concerns about Georgia Republicans that the former president was jeopardizing chances in a critical battleground state with 16 electoral college votes up for grabs. That could turn the election, by the way. And over the last week, Kemp and his team received an uptick in calls from Trump-aligned donors, according to a person with knowledge of the outreach, granted anonymity to speak freely. Kemp, who is widely seen as having his own future political ambitions, the word Kemp, obviously, there's been political in the past, he's going to complete a second term of governor, ranging from a potential run for president in 2028 to a possible Senate bid in 2026, has an interest in being seen as a GOP team player. And more immediately, Kemp is invested in ensuring Republicans in the state legislature maintain their majority, as Democrats are working to erode that buffer by targeting swing district voters. Now, Trump's public reckoning with Kemp started after the governor was invited on Sean Hannity's show Thursday. Trump watched live as Kemp stressed the importance of Republicans getting out the vote from top to bottom of the ticket. Now, talked about talking about refocus. Now, since the 2020 election, Trump had said he had been frustrated with Kemp for refusing to go along with his baseless claims about the election being rigged and stolen. The moment came after Hannity, a Trump supporter, Senator Lindsey Graham and others made a case on television that Trump needs to refocus. He said, we're 40 days from early voting. We don't have time for this. Hannity said in a show about Trump's feud with Kemp. Kellyanne Conway made a case on Fox Business that the winning formula is fewer insults, more insights. Vivek Ramaswamy told Politico he also advised the former presidents to shift the focus to policy. Now, among those involved in the back and the forth between the two camps, where spoke to Trump or Kemp, were former Senator Kelly Loeffler and her husband Jeff Sprecher, Brian Jack, a Republican congressional candidate in Georgia and former Trump advisors, GOP chair from Georgia Josh McCoon, among others. Now, according to Vance, the vice presidential running match, he said, I read the headlines. Vance told reporters to a campaign stop in Georgia. Brian Kemp and Donald Trump have had some disagreements. I 100% guarantee you that Brian Kemp is behind this ticket. Now, according to various published reports, including by Cole Mosio, the president of Frontline Policy Action in Georgia, and a Kemp ally, Republican voters, according to Mosio, want Donald Trump to show that he cares more about the cause than his personal grievances. It was the basic hurdle Trump needed to clear. Now, here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. Donald Trump holds spite. That's a Canadian expression. Maybe you're hearing it the first time in the States. Holding spite. Holding spite gets people not elected and gets people voted out. You basically have to kiss ass in politics. Donald Trump doesn't kiss ass, and that's why people like him. But he's not a politician. Donald Trump has never been a politician. He's a promoter. He's a businessman. He does business quite well. Even though he's lost more than he's won, he is basically not a politician. If someone asks me, for example, if I'm running for mayor of Boston, I'm a Canadian. Said, you're a former Canadian, you're living in the U.S., what do you think about people from Boston? Well, they're hardworking people. You got to know your cliches. Say like Bull Durham. See, Trump doesn't work in cliches. He just, he's like an angry, greasy, short order cook that you would see, and you can't do that on television. Like, his comments make no sense. As journalists, we have to wait to understand why he said that in the first place. See, when things are going bad, he freaks out. When things are going good, he freaks out. When you're a narcissistic personality like Trump, and that's what he is, he doesn't take a responsibility for what he says. He puts the blame on other people. Put it this way. He wanted Biden gone. Okay? Soon as Biden was gone, he's complaining that Harris is there. That's the vice president. That's what usually happens. Nixon was vice president. Then he ran for, after Eisenhower, he ran for government in the 60s. Won more than he lost. That's what George Bush the first did. Reagan didn't run again. George Bush ran. No contest. If you run a Republican campaign correctly, you're going to appeal to white voters, rural voters, voters that don't like certain, big taxation or whatever. It's very simple. A Republican ticket, you got 40% to start with. Okay? Democrats never had 40% to start with. Look what happened to Mondale. So if you play it right, like he did in 2016, he had a better campaign back then, you're going to win. But here's the problem. He can't compete with Harris because she's multiracial and she's a woman. You're losing at least 5% of that extra 8% that you need. So right now, the polls are pushed, 44-44. Kennedy is not. The Kennedy supporters are really not going to support Trump. And that's bad publicity because having RFK son support Trump goes against what moderate Democrats want. Moderate Democrats want to vote Democratic. They sometimes vote Republican. There's no way in the world RFK, the moderate, what they call, we say in Canada, the red Tories, but they're kind of like blue Democrat, well, whatever the color is, a Republican, right? They tend to sway. They might go Republican. A lot of voted for Reagan back in the day because he didn't trust Mondale. Reagan had a total knockout, So, but like I said, what the universe will unfold as it should. We have a few months left before an election. Something can happen in the debate. Maybe Kamala Harris will say, well, when you said you like grabbing a woman by the pussy, what did you mean by that? And she said the word pussy. That could end Trump's career. How are you back out of that? Why did you say that you like grabbing women down there? You see, you got to understand. No Canadian politician has ever spoken like Donald Trump. They speak in cliches. There's only one Trudeau that told people to fuck off. It was Pierre. By the way, you see the fuck Trudeau stickers in Canada. That's a play on what happened before. Because when Pierre Trudeau told the guy to fuck off in the House of Commons, they had protest signs saying fuck Trudeau, fuck Trudeau, fuck Trudeau. Like fuck Trudeau, question mark, fuck Trudeau, exclamation mark. There is nothing new in politics. Will Donald Trump win the next election? I don't know yet, because nobody has voted. In Canada, you have advance vote, you know what's going to go. We know that Justin Trudeau, unless something happens, will not be the next Prime Minister of Canada, but that's a 4-year, it's next year. But Donald Trump acted stupidly in the past month. He thought he had it won. It's like Phil Hellmuth at the poker table, right? You thought he was going to win? He didn't win, and he got mad, and he cursed when he's leaving the table. Donald Trump's a smart guy. You don't become president of the United States unless you can read the stuff. But where's all the Trump family members to help him out like last time? I haven't seen the daughter. The other two Trumps, you don't see anybody. There's no momentum. Like I said, it's a weird election because he's by himself, isn't he? Like, he had all these supporters in 2016, but where are they now? They've all disappeared. So, anyway, nobody knows what's going to be happening in the fall. Democrats don't know. Republicans don't know. I'm a centrist. I don't know what's going to happen. But all I'm saying, if Trump can keep his mouth shut and kind of give olive branches, maybe he'll get that 2% he needs to get a push. Because it's going to come down to, like, electoral votes. Right now, according to the polls I see, it's mostly tied. So, anyway, this is from a person who doesn't like Donald Trump personally, but I look at politics. Brian Mulroney was in the wilderness in 1976, and he was prime minister 8 years later. He backed off and came back. Okay? The Liberals were done in New Brunswick with Joe Daig and Higgins. And 1987, McKenna, who the guy who saved Yvonne Durrell, got the Acadian vote. It was a sweep. You never know in politics. You only know when the polls close. So if you're going to vote Republican, vote Republican. Vote Democrat, vote Democrat. But don't think your vote's going to make a difference, because it's going to be battleground states. It's like 20 states are Republican now, 20 are Democrat, as those 10 to battlegrounds, just like Biden won last time. And remember, Trump was ahead in 2020, and Biden made a late comeback. So anyway, it's going to be freaky. But by the way, a two-party system, you get what you pay for. You only get two options, Coke or Pepsi. Personally, I drink RC Cola. Anyway, so thank you, Politico, for allowing me to use this article. Thank you to my listeners. The comment section of this will be closed because any idiots come here get to be banned, and I don't want to ban people tonight because I don't want Democrats or Republicans deciding what this journalist in Canada can or not say. I live in a democratic country, a democratic socialist country, by the way. If you don't like that, take off. Have a good one. Bye.